Hello, gorgeous humans. Welcome back to Iconic, the podcast with myself and the gorgeous Sarah Buckland. I really want to go Sarah Buckland Coaching. That's her Instagram. Welcome, Sarah.
I'm so excited to be here.
I'm so excited to have you too. So me and Sarah met. Sorry, I'm already starting with a cough. I'm going to mute myself every time I cough from now on, guys. Sorry, apologies about that. We met inside of a mastermind. And you know what it's like when you join like a mastermind or a group program, these kind of things. Like you're not necessarily gonna be drawn to every single personality in the group because it's a mastermind, right? There's loads of different personalities, like you've not chosen everyone. But Sarah's someone I instantly gravitated towards. I was just like, this girl has such an energy. I love everything you're doing. And I literally like read every single one of your story slides every single day because they're all like so good. Like they give me that like, go, let's go, Lynda, let's go today energy. So I just love you so much. I love your energy. I love everything that you're about. And I was just saying, I was like, I'm going to tell you something you get on the podcast. I'm not going to tell you until we're on it. I literally had Sarah in my ears this morning when I was putting my makeup on because I was like, let's get in Sarah energy. And I knew you'd only just launched your podcast like a week or so ago. And I was like, let's go into the podcast. And I was like, really, what should I listen to? I was like, let's just listen to Sarah's story, the first episode. I didn't know all of this. It was a brilliant story. And then I just like, you were just playing in the background. Like I've listened to loads of your stuff this morning. So you do need to need to listen to Sarah's podcast for sure, but we'll get on to that. Let's start off by allowing Sarah to speak because I'm speaking a lot. And come on then, tell everybody a bit about this story because it's a really, I know like you're like where you are. I knew you were from corporate and I know you're now in Bali, but I didn't know all the stuff in between. So yeah, tell everyone like who you are, what you do, and the journey that you've been on to bring yourself to doing this work in the world.
Amazing. Thank you for the introduction. I love that you've had me in your ears this morning already. I've been right there with you getting ready. Hi, everyone. So I'm Sarah. I'm a sales and business coach, originally from the UK, but now living out in Bali. And yes, as Lynda said, so I was in sales for 6 years. And so sales to me was picking up the phone, ringing people, being tied to a certain desk and a certain time zone. So I just got to the point in corporate where I was like, is this all there is? Do people just carry on going for the next promotion and the next promotion? And we're just supposed to want, more responsibility as a reward for the extra increase of pay? I was like, it doesn't seem very rewarding to me. All I can see is how stressed all the people are in all the rings of the ladder ahead of me. I was like, it doesn't look great, I'll be honest. And so I was 27, 28, and I was like, do you know what? If this is the life that I've got to subscribe to, and I'm supposed to want this, let me at least go see the world. If I've got to just hang up all my ambition and be like, well, this is the way that it's got to be, let me just go and live my life whilst it's in my 20s, and at least it won't have that bigger impact on my, on my LinkedIn, on my CV. Because the more older I get, then it's probably going to be frowned upon when I want to take big gaps. So I'll just do it now. And so I saved a pot of money to go to do 6 months around South America, then go and do my working holiday visa in Australia, and then come back via Asia. So a 6-month trip ended up being like 16 months. But that was a really good time because once I got to Oz and like got a cash in hand job there because I needed to make money, but I didn't want to resurface on the corporate ladder. I was like, let me stay off the grid. I need to learn. And this was my first intro into entrepreneurial skills because like the cogs were already turning. I'd seen some people on laptops and I was like, what are they doing? Like they've got something and it's something that I want. And this was before the pandemic. So I didn't know anyone that was working online, anyone that traveled. But me and my friend had already been thinking about, we were watching our savings dwindle month to month. And we're like, there's got to be another way. You shouldn't be able to just either you work and have an income and it can support yourself, or you choose to live a life that you love, but one has to come at the expense of the other. And I was like, there's got to be another way of doing this. So we were looking at ways to either, volunteer places to make our money last longer or jobs that we could do as we were going. And I'd started researching work online. And then I'd seen a few people working on their laptops. But again, to me, with the experience that I had, being like picking up the phone, basically. I was like, no, my past experience, I didn't even know sales coaching was a thing. I was like, oh, all this experience that I've got in sales is useless. The mind boggles now. I'm like, oh my God, Sarah, duh. But so to me, I was like, you're going to have to retrain. You're going to have to learn a new skill that can be done online, where you don't need to necessarily be in the same time zone as the people that you're working with. And this is what then will help you to be location independent. So I took a course that taught me how to be a brand designer, offering like graphic design, logos. And so that's actually what I got started doing the business doing, which was hilarious because I'd got friends who were designers and they were like, you're doing what, Sarah? They've got like 10, 12 years experience. And here's me like, I'm starting a design agency. And they're like, how? You've got to love the bravery of someone that's just got enough self-belief that they're going to go for it. And so I did that for 6 months of like getting clients, posting on Instagram. And so I'd honed all of the business skills in terms of sales and marketing. And I noticed that what my problem was not what 95% of people's problem was, because most people had a problem selling, but they were really good at the thing they were doing. Whereas for me, I didn't feel confident with design at all. So I was doing more of the business stuff of posting on Instagram, showing up, getting visible, creating video content as a kind of smoke and mirrors to hide the fact that I really didn't feel confident about my design work. And so that bit was super, super easy. I even hired some graphic design coaches to help me with a certain project, because of people that I knew already, I landed a really big project, like a UK-wide competition that I was doing the branding for. So the pressure was on. This was going to be on marketing across dance and pole schools all over the UK. And I was like, what if they find out I'm not very good? And so I hired some coaches to be like, I need some design help here. And they're like, oh, is it to do with sales? And I was like, no, like that's not a problem. I need help with the actual skill. And I could see from the look on their faces on Zoom that they'd never heard anyone say, no, like the sales part isn't a problem. I need help over here. And they were like, okay. And so I was realizing that for me, sales was easy, at the same time as making friends with a lot of designers who were watching my content. And they were like, how do you know all this? And I was like, oh, it's my sales background. As I'm helping them, giving them a few tips and things. And people were saying, Sarah, your free help has already grown my business. And a lady said, Sarah, you've already given me so much help that if you decide to go into teaching this stuff, I will happily be your first paying client. And that for me was the biggest light bulb moment. I was like, because she was offering me something that is, something that I do so naturally that I would absolutely love, whilst I was feeling real frustration with the thing that I was doing because it just wasn't clicking. I was 6 months in, I was like, this still feels like pushing a rock uphill. I know entrepreneurship isn't going to be easy, but it shouldn't feel this uncomfortable. Like it doesn't feel natural. I don't feel aligned at all. So when she said that, I was like, yeah, I'd love to do that. And so that was when we pivoted, because I was like, I could do both. I'll still keep the branding clients there, but I'll do some teaching of sales on the side, bit of mentoring. And then I was like, no, you've got to be all in, because anyone that's still having my brand design services, I already knew was going to get a bad service from me, because my heart would be fully over here. So I was like, we can't be half in, half out. Let's just go fully over. So we had to change everything. I had to re-register the business name and like company's house, the banks, the offers, the audience, the content, the branding, like everything had to be redone. But once I'd done that, when you're in alignment, the way that it feels just like you're in flow. And so I wanted to share that for anyone that either is on the precipice of a pivot or not quite in their icon energy. It's because something isn't aligned. So pay attention to that, because when you move into what is your course in your lane, the way that everything feels so just flowy and natural when you're in alignment. And so then we've just gone from like power to power since then, because we've been working with clients and then they show up on their social media being like, oh my God, Sarah did this for me. And it all just started rippling outwards from there. And so then it went from one-to-one clients into a group program very quickly, into another group program very quickly. So it's all just been very natural, very organic, but starting from £60 for a logo, through to now high ticket one-to-one coaching.
I love that. I loved when I was listening to that episode on your podcast, I was literally laughing to myself. I was like, the audacity of, I'm just going to learn how to be a brand designer and start selling this thing, but I don't think I'm very good at it. You're literally like, and I wasn't very good at it, but I was really good at selling it. And I was like, and look, because that's really like so much of what holds people back is self-belief, right? And it's people, and it's that saying, isn't there? There's people that are more qualified than you, less qualified than you, making a hell of a lot more money than you, just because they believe in themselves more and they're putting themselves out there. And there's so many like really skilled, really intelligent people who just hold themselves back because it's always like, well, I don't know enough, I don't know enough, I don't know enough. And it's like, well, you do know enough. Just get out there, get out your own way and just go and do the thing.
Yeah, exactly.
I resonate with this story so much because when I decided to launch my business, it was because I'd had a son and I was working really long hours and I was traveling, I was away with work a lot. And I was like, I don't want to be the absent mum, because my dad was an absent dad. I was like, I don't want to be an absent mum. So I knew I wanted to launch a business that I could work from home. But in my head, I was like, okay, well, I can't launch as a marketing expert or a business coach because I'm used to having a massive budget, right? And how do I market if I haven't got TV ads and celebrity partnerships? And I don't know anything about this, so I can't launch this. So I launched a nutrition business because I'd studied nutrition on the side. I'd been an anorexic. It made sense that I wanted to learn about nutrition. But I never really wanted to be a nutritionist. I was just really interested in nutrition. But then I was in my head, I was like, well, I know all this stuff because I've studied, I've been to university and I've got the degree and blah, blah, blah. So I'll go and do this. And it's literally what you said. Everything feels like hard work when I'm doing the nutrition bit. Even though I can get people amazing transformations. I started with fertility. And so like people were falling pregnant that hadn't had a baby for like, they've been trying for 5 years, then full pregnant. Like, and everyone's giving me the affirmation. And I'm like, the affirmation isn't enough because I'm not enjoying it. And like posting on social media, like you were saying, like, oh, you used to post like twice a week. This is me. I would like if I posted 3 times a week, it was exhausting because it was just like I was having to think so hard about what to write. And it's like, well, what do I write? Because I wasn't in flow. But then when I made that decision, like it was literally only last month when I was like, no, I'm going all in on the business side and that's all I'm going to focus on. And I can pump out 2-3 posts a day and it can be dead easy for me. Like I'm not pumping out 2-3 posts a day because I've got stuff going on, but it's so flowy and so easy. And it's like, actually, it's just an alignment piece. Like you say, like when you do something you're really passionate and you really love. And like, I've never been real passionate about helping people make babies. Like, couldn't really care less. Have a baby, don't have a baby. Like, that's kind of my opinion. Whereas like, I want women to get out their own way, stand in their power and make a ton of money. And it's like, yeah, I can talk about this all day because I'm passionate about it. Exactly. So I really resonate with that.
It just feels so different. Like you, I was passionate about getting people results and them loving it because again, through another relationship, I landed a project which was like a female country and western but like modern clothing brand, and so I did all the logos, branding, the bags, and she's still out. I still see her on Facebook. She's going to festivals, so I see the logo that I designed, like people are wearing it and I'm like, that's really cool. And I love that project, but my heart just wasn't in it. Like it wasn't natural to me. I wasn't playing to my own skills. And I wasn't building a business that I absolutely love. And like, you deserve to love your business.
Exactly.
The whole statement of do what you love and you won't work a day in your life. That felt like work. I only loved it at the handover point where I'd get the joy back from the customer. But for the other 4 to 6 weeks before that, I wasn't enjoying it at all. So
exactly. And in fact, we'll talk about this really quickly now because again, it's something you talked about on your podcast about building out this scalable like product suite and stuff. But this is something I always struggled with when I was doing nutrition because it was like the idea of having a nutrition membership literally would fill me with dread. I'm like, I do not want to hold a nutrition membership. And I'm like, and it's like, I couldn't see what a mastermind version of nutrition thing. So I only ever had my signature program and one-to-one. And it was like, that's just constantly relying on another round of my signature program. Oh, and I've got one-to-one. And it just felt so like, it felt really boring for me because it was the same thing all the time. But it was also like, where's the scalable product suite in this? Because I know I can have a nutrition membership, a women's health membership, what I want to call it. But I'm like, but I don't want to. Whereas when I look at all the things that I want to do from a business side, it's dead easy for me. So let's talk about that transition for you because you talked about this. This feels like a good time. Of like how you've built that business out so it really works for you. And then we'll jump into main character energy because I want to talk about that.
So it started because I'd already gone down a wrong path, but I built a community who knew me for doing that thing. I knew that when I changed everything, there was going to be a little transitional period of, okay, I need to build trust as soon as possible in this whole new avenue, because people are going to be like, what? She's doing what now? And so part of that was getting a lot of good content, a lot of social proof from the get-go. So I was like, I will be willing to work for free, because straight away, I'm just going to prove I'm not messing around. This isn't, I woke up yesterday and just fancied doing something else. Like, I'm ready to bring the goods from day one. So I actually did some free power hour sessions, all with just people I had no existing relationships with, so that I'd got social proof straight away. So I started booking between the free testimonials that I'd got and the people that I'd started working with, because they were like, Sarah, we will happily be your first paying clients. Between them speaking about me on their platforms, I started booking one-to-one clients. So I was doing either just power hours, 6 weeks coaching, and just building up massive trust and massive visibility, because everyone was sharing with their own stories. I was like, this is great. And so from there, I started seeing that the same questions were coming up again and again. Like, I was repeating myself on a lot of coaching calls. So then I packaged that into a small group program, knowing that it wouldn't answer all of the questions, but it would just give people something that they could binge, whilst I built something bigger and like a 3-month group program off the back of it. And so that's what happened. And I built massive, because of all the visibility, I built massive momentum for this first ever group program, put it at quite low pricing. So 12 people hopped in. And so not only did that fill that round and give me a waiting list for the second round, but a lot of those people hopped into the higher program as well off the back. So from zero, from complete change through then to 6 months, my visibility and just my whole product suite, my clients, just everything was just like absolutely flying. And so I focused on getting the sort of the smaller group program and bigger group program off the ground first, and then being like, okay, I can see the flow, like where are there gaps that need plugging? Do things need changing? And that's what I've really been working on this year, is really building that scalability, rather than it being, book a power hour and then trust is built, and then, because that then takes away quite a lot of my time. I still like them. I've not closed off to doing them. But now with the membership, there's so much more that people can binge without it being my time.
Yes.
We've built far more scalability now, which allows me far more freedom now that I've got my mum coming to Bali for 2 weeks. So I can still serve a lot of people and be available for pockets of time, but still have that quality time with her. Whereas a year ago, I would have been just like at the laptop, like, don't even talk about a holiday with me.
Yeah, because you'd have been literally trading time for money, because it's like having to get these one-to-ones in and stuff instead of being, I love that you just said about doing the free stuff at the start. This recently came up with a client of mine, and I say this with love. It's like, people, if you want it enough, be willing to prove yourself to people, right? And
if you want it, and you like, people buy so much easily when they can see that other people have had results. So if you know that results is going to help, why would you not do whatever it takes to go and get those results?
Exactly. Yeah. And so you do have to get down and dirty at the start. And I think a lot of people come with this like self-entitled attitude of like, I'm going to be this like 6-figure business owner and I'm just going to do this thing. And then they're trying to sell stuff and nothing's selling, but they're not willing to actually just get that experience, get down and dirty. When I launched my nutrition business, I took on 6 clients for free, and I worked with them from like the June to August, like June, July, August, before I officially registered and opened my business in the September. I was giving them exactly the same service they would get as a one-to-one client. And I kept sharing it to my stories, and I like blah, 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 blah. And then when I opened the doors to officially launch my business, and I launched with a group program, hilariously, with like a VIP upgrade. So it was like a one-to-one VIP upgrade, and I got a couple of VIPs and other people in the program. And then people are like, all these other nutritional therapists that had studied with me were like, how are you making it work so quickly? How are you making? I'm like, because I did it for free. I worked with 6 clients for free for 3 months, and I put my all in, and I didn't think I was above it. Right. And so, I love that you said that, because it's sometimes you've got to be down and dirty at the start, but then you get to reap the rewards down the line.
Massively. And it just gave me some really like good usable experience, because they were all people from a Facebook group. I got no relationship to them. I knew nothing about their business. So I got 4 very different people that in an hour I needed to get results for.
Yes.
So I was like, woohoo, okay. So it was a really good experience for me, who was like learning how to coach at that point, which now then helps me like do big group programs where there's 10 or 12 people, all different backgrounds, cultures, business models, personalities. I can hold space for a group of very mixed people. And this is why I'm in this slight little bugbear of my own. But when I see people in the coaching industry being like, you don't need one-to-one experience, just go launch a group. I'm like, can you not get the experience of working with a lot of different people and getting results for all of those different types of people before just going, right, I'm going to build a scalable business model, when you've got no experience actually scaling individuals?
Yes. And also just having that experience allows you to see the common threads. So because like you can go in with a perception of, well, this is what people need for like whatever X program is. But when you see the common threads across clients, it's like, okay, this is what people mostly, because you can't throw things. And this is a massive mistake I've made in all my programs, is trying to put like the whole kitchen sink, like everything in it. It's like, I know all this stuff, and because I know it, I need to tell everybody it. But it like, is that actually the most valuable thing for people? Like, usually it's a lot less stripped back, and it's something I'm constantly working on trying to refine, because I'm queen of put it all in. But yeah, when you start to see those like common things, it's like, well, actually these are the most important, these are the places where people are falling down the most, this is what they need the most help with. And so it's so you're serving them better as well. So let's talk about this main character energy, stroke the villain era. Talk to us about it, because I absolutely love everything that you're about, and the way that you live and breathe this day in, day out, on your stories, in your business. So talk to us about it.
And so for people, if you scroll down my feed far enough, you'll see me talk about my like plateau season. I cover this on the podcast as well. But after that first rocket, I'd say like 6 to 8 months of suddenly flying, quite unexpectedly, and I was like, woo! But you know, when you're riding the wave, you don't question what your technique is, you just ride and hold the F on for as long as possible. And so when I think winter hit in the UK, and my inspiration just went out the door. And so when you're not being your best energy, it's not like my sales strategy changed. I just wasn't being the person who was going to be landing consistently high ticket clients, because I sometimes showing up with big energy and sometimes not. I was like 50% of a person. And so that season, I call my plateau season, what my income did just plateau. It was all right, but it wasn't great. It was just me. And it wasn't until I finally made the leap to be like, do you know what? I really need to get out of the UK. I need to just go live an independent life. And with all of the trials and tribulations that that's going to bring, I've never traveled with the business. I don't know how it's going to go, but I have to try, because my soul is dying here. It literally was. And so it was a big decision to get on that flight, and I delayed booking the flight. I did all of the performative tasks. I was, like selling stuff. I was, I think I booked like insurance. I was doing all the research. I was saying my goodbyes to people, but I hadn't booked the flight because my nervous system was doing absolute, like, it was freaking out, because I've been in my comfort zone for so long.
Did you have friends in Bali, or did you just like pack up and leave? Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I'd been here once when I was backpacking, so I knew that I could get myself around as a lone female. I knew the currency, I knew how to get around, I knew I'd be safe, but no, I didn't know anyone here. So, but it was the first place I wanted to come, and I thought that I'd move around a lot more after. So I was like, oh, I'll do 2 months in Bali, and then I'll go to Thailand, and I'll just go with the flow. So it took a lot to actually book the flight, because I'd been in comfort zone for so long that like my nervous system was like, what are we doing? Why are we doing this? And like, yeah, high anxiety for months. But once I actually got here, I decided like, right, I'm all in. We will figure it out. We will back ourselves. Like, we'll make it work. Then after that, like, my confidence took a massive up level, because I was in somewhere where I'd put myself first, I'd gone after a goal. And even though there was still going to be a lot of work, I was living something that had once been a dream. And the confidence then that came with that, I was like, oh, okay. And I started buying new clothes and moving differently. And people were straight away picking up on my energy, being like, Sarah, like, you're glowing. Even if I was wet hair out of the sea and no makeup, people were noticing the difference in the way that I was showing up. And that's around the time that I invested in the mastermind as well. So I took a big decision that was scary and it tested my nervous system. But once then you play at a higher level, all of a sudden I've got this massive confidence boost that was like, well, go on then. What more can you do? And it just gave me this such like energy. And I was around people that were hitting goals that I didn't even know to look for. Because people would be like, oh, I've made a sale every day for the last 20 days. And I'm like, oh, I wonder if I could do that. And it just gets your head working in a different way. And so when people were saying, your energy is so much different. How are you on fire every single day? Like, you're just so big. Like, it never seems like you have an off day anymore. And I'm like, no, I don't need one. Like, I am in my best energy every single day. And I knew that I was coming back to the UK. So I was like, right, I'm going to make an event called Main Character Energy because I was being really ballsy in my content as well. So part of it was who I was being behind the screen, but part of it was how I bring that into the business. And so I was like, right, let me make an event out of this. And so that's where Main Character Energy was born. And honestly, the confidence has just continued to snowball from there. And that's where Villanera comes in, because it's gone past confidence now. It's now into, oh, we're here. We're at season 2. Season 2 for me is just this whole other level of unapologeticness. Main Character Energy is, and I still love that version of me as well. It's very like playful, big, fun. Whereas Villanera, she is like the chin down kind of confidence. The quiet but powerful confidence. It's almost say less, but the words pack more of a punch.
Yeah.
It's got a whole different feeling about it. It's very like exciting, just ooh. When I tap into Villanera energy, it's like, oh, she's not here to play. She's about to stir something up, or she's just not available for anything that is less than 100% in.
When you said you're like 50% Sarah, I'm like, I can't imagine 50% Sarah. I just can't imagine. I can't imagine her because she's always 100%. So why do you think so many women struggle to step into this main character energy, step into their Villanera energy? Like what is holding women back? Because so many women, in my opinion, never going to achieve their dreams because they're just never going to do what you've done, right?
Yeah. Oh, it's a huge question, but I do love it. Part of it is how we've been brought up. I think women have been taught to like not say what exactly it is that they think or how they feel, or be direct. Villanera for me is very much say exactly how you feel. Don't add filler words. It's not a question. You don't need to add an exclamation mark when you're not laughing. Like, say what you're going to say and put a full stop at the end.
Yeah.
And so we haven't been brought up to be that way. So I think part of it is you've got to then look at how, like, your upbringing from parents, from school, from your family situation. And a lot of it is going to be stepping away from that and being okay with, there are going to be other women who, when you're being in this Villanera, it makes them uncomfortable as well. Yes, any thoughts that you have of, oh, this might not be received well, are probably right. Because there'll be women that look at you and be like, wow, I wish I could be, that confident or say how I really feel. But there'll be other women that find it intimidating because that's how we've been brought up, that, that loud women are bossy, or they say too much, or
she's up herself.
Yeah. And exactly. And then the other part of that, which has been part of my journey as well, is learning to really love your body, because that is also a crime in today's society.
Yeah.
Because any magazine, media, like, we're taught to hate the way you look, hate your body, pick your flaws, get creams, potions, Botox, surgery to fix everything that's wrong with you. So loving yourself for the way that you are is a crime in today's society. Yeah. So the more that I've really learned into, how can I love myself the most? How can I love myself so much that it's almost offensive how much I love myself, so that I can walk into a room, and this isn't just about building the business as well. When you walk into a room and you're just like, I know I look good today. Yeah. That is the energy of like a woman who knows what she brings to the table. And when people say, oh, she doesn't have to talk when she walks in, you just feel it. It's her confident knowing what she brings.
Yeah.
So part is the socialization, but part is you really learning to love how you look and how you feel about yourself. Because when you feel incredible, you show up entirely differently. And so when I think back to my plateau season, I didn't feel great about myself back then. It was past, post lockdown. I'd been snack stressing a lot. I was hitting the wine and cheese quite a lot. I was hitting the fridge quite a lot. And so I was wearing quite a lot of like baggy jumpers. I felt just pale and frumpy at the time. So I was covering myself quite a lot. Whereas here, part because of the heat, and it's impossible to wear too many clothes anyway, but part because I look after myself better. I'm just like, do you know what? I really love how I look. Like, and I'm going to show that off. If I don't know how it's going to be received, but that's also not my problem. Like, I love how I'm being, so I'm just going to show more of that.
Yeah, and that's the energy people want to be around, right? People want to be around the energy of people who like feel inspiring to them and like make them like give them confidence just being around them. Yeah, I can resonate with the whole main character thing because I'm tall, right? I'm 5'8", and so I always got put at the back of the class in everything. So I used to go dancing. I was put at the back of the class because I was too tall. I didn't want to block the way for the other little people, so I was always back of the class. In school photos, I was put on the back row with the boys, because it was like, well, she can't stand at the, even though someone said this to me the other day, like, does it make any sense if they're sat on the floor cross legs, why couldn't you get at the front? I'm like, yeah, it was cross legs. But I remember like school photos, all the girls on the front row and then me on the back row with the boys, right? So I had this whole thing growing up is like, oh, you're too tall, you take up too much space. Tied in with it, this like the messages I was getting at home, like no one likes to show off. That was one of my mum's things. So because I went dancing, and the really good little dancer. I mean, I actually still remember the name of this girl Mum was talking about at the time, and she was incredible, right? And she went on to be an incredible dancer. Like, that's her career now. But I remember my mum didn't like it. She didn't think it was right that like little girls were show offs. So in her, but she was just like just performing, right? And so I had those kind of stories coming up. And then in corporate, I remember this, and I lived into bits. We had a really great relationship. But one of my bosses once said to me, he was like, Lynda, you're a big person. You fill a room when you go in. You've got a big smile. You've got a big voice. You're really intimidating to people. And he was like, so instead of like, you need to learn how to like bring people on a journey, like bring them on a journey and be all soft instead of like just going in and giving your opinion. And I'm like, if I was a bloke and I walked in with a big voice, a big smile and a big opinion, no one would be saying this to me. But it's like, because we're women, we need to act differently. And it's that whole like good girl, the people please and all that kind of stuff. And and this is like one of the reasons I was so drawn to you and your work, because like we've got really similar opinions on this. It's like, no, like one of my clients said the other day, she was like, my dad said to me, she was trying on an outfit for a wedding and he said, you look big in that. And she was like, good. I want to take up more space. She's like, stop talking to me like being big is a bad thing. She's like, I want to take up more space, because like women are told we shouldn't be taking up space. It's like, I'm going to rebel and take up more space. So yeah, I think I love that you are this permission slip for women actually taking up space, being completely them, like you say, loving themselves and actually taking care of themselves. Because it's not like you just walk in and like, yeah, I love myself, but like you take care of yourself with the way you like nourish yourself, with the dancing, the fitness, like all that kind of stuff as well. Like you're giving to yourself every day. At least you talk about this, don't you? You like give to yourself before you give to the business, give to yourself before you give to your clients, because when you're giving to yourself, you can help other people more.
Exactly. And I'll notice if I can feel that my main character energy is less than 100%, my first place to look will be okay, what are your most basic needs and have you been meeting them to the same level? Have you skipped a few workouts this week? Has your eating been good? Has your sleeping been good?
Yeah,
because we're just toddlers at the end of the day. So I'll look through those like core things, and if I'm like, oh, you could go to bed a little bit earlier and get better sleep, that is a huge factor in how you show up the next day. Is, did you get a full night's sleep?
so huge. So it
can be little things like that, because then if you get a full night's sleep, you can have a better workout or just feel better in the morning. You might put on a different playlist that gets you in a better mood. And then because you're in a better mood, you're dancing around just for yourself, not for anybody else, but you're just delighting in your own self-pleasure and you're singing as you go. And all of these little things, that one thing leads to the next, that then by the time you're coming to sit down and start work or like create content, you're just in your best self. Rather than, and it can be completely the opposite. If you have a bad night's sleep, you wake up groggy, maybe you miss a workout, then you get some just quick food on the go because you're just like, oh, I'm running late, let me just skip that out. you don't put on a good playlist, or if you do, your mind's somewhere else because you're thinking about it, and it just, you start the day on a back foot as opposed to your best self. So
and then and then you sit down to write your content, and because you're not inspired, you're not like lived your life, you just sat there staring at a screen like, what am I going to write about today? Whereas if you kind of like, you go and do your workout first, or whatever it is that's your thing, and then you sit down, it just flows. Like usually the idea will come in while you're working out, and then you're like, right, I'll write that when I get back. Quick note in my phone.
Exactly. So when I think about like my main character energy and the way that I like maintain that as good as possible is to take care of those like core self-care needs every single day. And that's what then you show up. You know, we talk about like big dick energy and this big, you know, say what you want, be unapologetic. You can't say your full spicy self, and it's going to be a lot harder to be that like one that puts out her true spicy opinion if you're feeling only 60% behind the screen. Like you're just not going to. That'll be a post that sits in your drafts. Whereas when you're just like, no, I'm operating 110% today, and you're all going to hear what I have to say today.
Yeah, so you might have already answered this, but if there's anything else you want to add it now. I would love you to advise the people of how they can get into their like main character energy. Is there anything else you wanted to add to it?
I would say find what it is that is your creative outlet. Like that's dancing for me. It's also singing on the moped. I love having my earphones in and driving. To be fair, driving anywhere, I absolutely love. If it's in a car, that will be my singing space and no one can hear, and I'll just absolutely go for it. But when I'm dancing, like I really get lost in the moment, and I've been taking up more hobbies where I'm really fully present, like learning the drums. What else I was doing, like tennis at the weekend, because I think it's really important to have a time where you're focused on something other than the business. Like you can love the business, love your clients, love your offers, but you need to allow your brain time to be somewhere else, because that will be where it processes ideas. And often you'll get some really good content ideas that are like zoom, 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 as soon as you're thinking about something else. So take the time to either go to new places where you've got no existing relationship or reference to that place, so you've got that new environment inspiration. And also try and do things that are you're going to be fully present in the moment. Like maybe you like painting, dancing, playing an instrument, reading a book, whatever it is for you that allows your brain to be somewhere else for that time. And then when it comes to bringing main character energy into your business, your clients, your content, for your clients, I'd say make your boundaries very clear and upfront. If there's anything that is going to take away from your main character energy, it's having clients that either offend your personal space or take the piss, but you're the one that sets the boundaries. So make your boundaries clear and upfront, either in your content, so people know what it's going to be like to work with you from the get-go, but reiterate that either on your sales pages, in your contracts, in your welcome pack. Make your office hours like clear. Don't be giving out your WhatsApp number to people if you want any kind of privacy. Like just let people know what to expect and where the bar is set. Because I know for myself, I did a mini mind with someone once, and I received her welcome pack, and her boundaries seemed like really high for what I was expecting at the time. And although part of me was just like, wow, okay, that's how it's going to be, is it? Part of me massively like had an up level of respect for her as well, because she prioritized her piece. She was letting us know before we'd even got going of, you can contact me here by this method and I won't respond otherwise. I was like, okay. But at least I knew where the goalposts were from then. So I just made sure to contact her within that time. So that was my first lesson of, if everyone wants to be, you know, at the happiest place and most respectful place, just let people know where your goalposts are. Then you can operate from a much more like high level of peace, because you're not getting people taking from you. And then from putting this into your content, again, if you're not having people offend your boundaries, like you've got very respectful clients, you've got a really good relationship with these people, you're taking care of all of your needs from behind the scenes, and you're going out getting inspired and bringing this into the business. When you're putting this into your content, like first make your hook really good. Whether it's a statement, whether it's a question, make it something provocative. And I don't mean sexy, although I have gone down that line before. But make it something that grabs, like if you could reach through the screen and grab someone by the balls, what would that look like? Make it like it either grabs them because it creates curiosity, it creates mystery, it creates intrigue. How can you pull someone in and just make it really bingeable? So I'd say create content like that and take people on a journey. And don't be afraid to say what your true beliefs are. Like when we talk about being polarizing, go to where you stand, what you stand for, what you believe in, what you're for, what you're not for, and say your piece. I know you do this as well. So I'd say just be willing to step away from the crowd. The further away from the crowd you go, the easier it'll be to stand out, and you won't be for everyone. And good. Take up space for the people that you are for, and you'll actively put off the people that you're not for.
Yeah, I don't know if everybody does this in their business or whether it's just me, but when I first launched my business, I was like queen of people pleasing. And so it was like, you know, it was WhatsApp, not Voxer. So it was the WhatsApp, it was the 7 days a week. It was like the calls were supposed to be an hour and they'd go over to like an hour and 40 minutes. Like, honestly, it was ridiculous the amount of like people pleasing I did, because I felt like somehow like I owed it to them because they'd invested in working with me, instead of like owning that. No, I'm incredible at what I do. So I deserve you to invest in me, but also like these are the boundaries, because all it leads to is burning out. When you have poor boundaries, when you're available 24/7, when you're going over on your calls or whatever it is, whatever the behaviors are, when you don't have those boundaries, you just burn yourself out, and then you start resenting your clients. And it's literally like, I really want that person to cancel today. I really don't want them to come to the call. I really like, you'd see their name on like WhatsApp and it'd be like, oh, they've messaged me. Like, it's just so draining. And so it's actually of service to our clients to have firm boundaries, which is like, these are the times when I'm available in Voxer. This is when I reply, blah, blah, blah. It's like, it's of service to people.
Yeah, so that you can both get the best out of the relationship and out of the time that you've got.
Yeah.
I'm the same. I started out doing coaching, booking calls 5 days a week. And then some people had my WhatsApp number. I'd be on during the mornings, but letting some people do evenings as well. When you book calls over 5 days a week and there's no break in your own diary, you're just constantly on all the time. So I'd be exhausted, because then I'd be only doing follow-up from one client before I was getting onto the next call. And it was just this whole
Yeah.
between scaling to groups and also limiting the time windows that I'm available for, that helps me be in my better energy, because I know, like, personally, my energy goes in a bell curve throughout the week. I'll be like really good Tuesday to Thursday, so that's my call time, whereas Monday to Friday I allow either more creative days, more me days, so that I can be on for calls in the middle of the week. So I think it's just figuring out when you're work to your advantages, work to your strengths, and build your time frame around that, and then just be clear, when are you replying to people or when are you not?
Yeah, I was the same. I'd start calls at like 8 o'clock in the morning for like, in my head, for like people who wanted to see me before they went to work, or for like people in Australia. But then it started to slip to 7:30, because somebody like, well, I've got to be on so-and-so call, so can we start any earlier? So then I ended up starting at 7:30 a.m. But then I'd have other calls at like 7:30 to 8:30 p.m. And it was just not. And then now I am firm. Like there's a couple of days a week where I'll have availability in the morning, and then there's other days are in the afternoon. And no one ever says to me, like, it's not going to work for me, Lynda. Like, people just book in when they're available, and it works. So yeah, we've got to have these boundaries. Okay, I'd love to move in, because I can't have the sales queen on the call without talking about sales a little bit. Let's talk about sales. It's something that pretty much all service-based business owners are going to struggle with at some point. This whole like being apologetic about, oh, and I've got to like tell you what the price is and all these different things, right? And all the different things. But again, I honestly think it comes from low self-worth, and it comes from like people's fear of like being rejected as well. It's like, well, if I put it forward and then no one buys it, then I'm being rejected and I must be terrible, and then I'm going to live my hole. So there's a whole thing there. But what are your top tips for getting in that sales queen energy, for actually selling? Like, whatever you want to speak into here, like, the floor is your space.
So we'll lead into a bit of a sales psychology here. I've been reading a book, I'm rereading a book called Influence, which is the art of persuasion, which I don't love the title of, because sales for me isn't persuading someone. It's putting out there what you're really good at and the right people coming in. If you feel like you've got to convince someone, then it's not aligned. So, and I've never felt when I'm selling that I'm convincing anyone. When I was in the sales office and I was around very good, very skilled people who would have all the technical know-how, you could almost hear the structure, or like they'd be guiding people on a conversation down a set route. And that was never really sales for me. I always felt like I'd just be picking up the phone, having a conversation with someone that I liked. We got on well, and I was passionate about the thing that I was talking about. And so sales was easy for me. It was never an overly structured or overly complicated process. And so I brought that same, way of being into the business. And so I'd first say, don't overcomplicate it. If you are passionate about the thing that you do and you're confident about it enough, that will sell more than you telling us every, structural piece about the offer. Like, you just need to back yourself and show up and say why it's amazing. That will have more of an impact on your audience. And then, so there's the self-belief, both in yourself and the offer, but also some of the principles around sales psychology. And this is why it's so important to be showing up consistently, is the more people are exposed to you and your message, the more likely they are to buy. Like, people need to see things a few times over. Yes, of course, we want to, focus on creating really good content. And we love the people that are like, oh my God, I saw one piece of content and I decided that I was in. But those people are rare. Most people will take, a considered decision based on lots of exposure to you. So if you know that it's going to take people multiple points of contact, it's on you to be showing up consistently so that they can be exposed to you and your message enough to hear it, and they warm themselves up as a buyer. So remember, the mere exposure effect is giving people enough material, both in short and long form and video form, where they can see you, build a relationship with you through the screen, and then come on and buy from you. And another point here, and this is why I think one of the elements that makes my story so bingeable, is that I weave parts of my personal life through the business content. Because when we think about is it know, like, and trust? Yes, know, like, and trust. People can know you in the offer and they can trust you. They can buy without needing to like you, because if they see you as an authority, they'll come through anyway. But having that likability just makes them like you as a person so much more. And that's actually a really strong buying factor, because let's be honest, there'll be other people who do what you do. You're not the first, you're not the inventor. So when you bring parts of your personality and who you really are, that'll be a talking point that starts a lot of conversation. The amount of people that will send me a DM either because of the dancing video they've seen, or if I'm talking about a place that I've gone that they recognize, or I was talking about one day an ear infection I was currently struggling with, and it got me talking, because another lady was like, oh, I've had that, and she ended up coming on board and being a client from me talking about an ear infection. So it's the everyday things that make you as a person that you need to be weaving into your content, so that people are getting to know you behind the business, that personal brand content.
Yeah, do you know what? Yeah, I'm similar. Like, even before I was business coaching, right, when I was doing the nutrition stuff, I've literally had people invest in working with me one-to-one because they like where I live. Because I live in this beautiful home in the Peak District, and I'll do morning view shots, and people are just like, I want to live in your home. Can you help me balance my hormones? And it's like, well, not really connected, but I totally agree. Like, story is so important. And there are most things, and people are going to work with you. They could probably learn on YouTube, right? They could probably buy an audiobook. They could probably listen to podcasts, but they want to be in your energy. It's something about your energy that activates them. That's like, this is my person. And so story is so important, because like you said, you've got to like someone. Sure, you can buy someone's group program without really liking them. If you're just like, yeah, they're an authority, whatever. But if you actually want to get one-to-one clients, they have to like you.
Yeah, it makes such a difference.
Yeah.
I'd choose someone who, like you say with the house thing, someone who's got either a lifestyle or a way of being, a way of building their business that is what you aspire to have, and go invest in those people. Just find people that you're like, you can build a relationship with without needing to speak to them. And this is where we speak about like high ticket buyers. They won't need to have a conversation with you because they will have already done all of the conversation themselves through your content, through your videos, through listening to your long form content, your lives. They will have done everything and had the whole conversation. So as long as they can find out the questions and get the answers to those about the offer specifically, that's when you get people come out and be like, send me the link, who have never spoken before. And I've been that person as well.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, I literally do it all the time. Every high level investment I've ever made, it's always been like, just found someone, liked them instantly, binge a bit of stuff, and then like, what have you got on the table right now? Because I want to come in your world.
Exactly. This is your sign that high ticket clients can be around the corner at any time. So there could be someone on your page right now. So have you got stuff about your offer, or just, this is why we're showing up in your best energy all of the time, because you never know when someone is silently lurking.
Yeah, exactly. On that note, because I know we're like coming towards the end, let's talk about masterminds first, and then let's talk about your mastermind that you're selling at the moment, because we met in a mastermind. I love masterminds. This is my favorite mastermind I've been in. I've been in a couple before this, but why masterminds over one-to-one coaching? Let's have that conversation.
Ooh, for me, and I'd had one-to-one coaching. I'd been in a group environment a couple of times, either through a mini mind group program. I love learning from other people in the room, not just the coach. I think it's really good to get the coach's expertise, but especially because I'm an extrovert, it challenges me that either friction or the excitement that happens when a group dynamic is there causes me to rise, either because I'll get excited, or I want to share my wins with the group, or I'm just learning about different ways of doing it, as well as the mentor's own approach. And then I can better fit the puzzle pieces into my business based on what other people are doing, and choosing, which pieces do I want to take from this, what would work best for me, and share in a group environment as well. So I just find it both a challenging and also rewarding experience to hear the stories of different women about how they've built and how they are building. So yeah, I love the group dynamic.
Yeah, it's definitely, and particularly this mastermind that we're in feels a little bit different to the ones I've been in. But I do love that thing about, like, sometimes I'll turn up to our call and I'll be like, I haven't really got any questions right now, because I might have just been chatting in Slack with Bridget, for example. I'm like, I've got nothing to ask. I've literally just been speaking to her, but I'm like, I'll turn up. But then conversations will come in and it just makes me think about something like, oh yeah, like I hadn't thought of doing that, or I could do that, or that's it. You don't even need to be, you could get lessons from some, there's people in other industries that aren't coaches, aren't there? In our mastermind, it's like you could get other ideas from them. And it's just, it just creates this bigger thinking. And then also, and you opened this whole conversation talking about this, it also makes you dream bigger than you ever thought possible, right? Because it's one thing working with a coach that's doing incredible things, that is like, oh yeah, it'd be nice one day if I'm having 100K months like her. But then it's another thing, like seeing so many other people dreaming like bigger. I remember when I joined the mastermind, I was like, I want to be hitting 30K months. And I was like, literally in like my second month, and I'm on a call and Bridget goes, Lynda, that's a 50K product suite. 50K a month product suite. And I'm like, oh, I hadn't even planned to get there. But actually, now you've told me that, I'm like, well, now I'm going for 50K because you've told me. And then once you get to 50, you're like, well, if it's 50, why is it not 100? And suddenly, like, yeah, I'm going to have $1 million year. And it was like, I wasn't thinking that like 4 months ago. And suddenly it's like, yeah, now I want $1 million year. And it's just, it gets you dreaming so much bigger. And yeah, so I think if anyone hasn't tried being in a mastermind, you've only ever done one-to-one, I highly recommend it. It's gonna trigger you. There's going to be days you're having your worst day, you've had an argument with your partner, whatever you've done, like a sale fell through that you thought was going to come, whatever it is, you're going to have a really bad day, and you've got someone else like celebrating their literally biggest month. And then there's also going to be other times when it's like the opposite. And then when you are winning, people are cheering you on. When you're down, you're inspired by other people. Like it's such a different energy. It's an incredible thing. So let's talk about your becoming mastermind, because I'm so excited for you. What are the details? What do people need to know? Who is it for? All the things.
So this is for women who are ready to enter their season 2. It's not their first rodeo. They've been doing business. They've been launching, bringing out their own programs, trying out new offers. They've already hit a level of success, but they're ready now to like really own who they are, because currently they're not playing to their full potential. Either it's pulling out of launches early, or struggling with pricing and really backing that higher pricing, or playing around with content but not really saying what it is that they truly feel. Like they know a lot of the strategy. They're now ready to become this woman who is not just a six-figure business owner, but she backs her vision. She knows that she's capable of anything because of the work that she's been doing on herself. So she's ready to go be this wild, unapologetic woman and just build a business that she absolutely loves, not one that she feels trapped by. So yes, this is my 6-month mastermind to help you become this incredible version of you so that you can just live this most iconic life. Because I know for me, earlier on in my journey, I was loving building the business, but I also knew that I'd really struggle to have a day off, or I didn't know, I was building a business to give me freedom, but I didn't actually have a lot of freedom at that point, either because the product suite wasn't there, or the community wasn't there, or I wasn't posting enough, or I wasn't being enough. And so this is why now, because of the lifestyle that I've built, I'm now about to have 2 weeks off with my mama. Also go island hopping and going into the jungle, the beaches, and all of these things. I'll still be showing up and able to build, continue to build my iconic brand whilst literally having a life of freedom. And I want to be able to share that with more people.
Amazing.
Yes,
I'm so excited for the mastermind. And then tell everyone else the other ways they can work with you. What else have you got available?
So if you're not quite at that level yet, if you're still learning the sales skills and building that momentum within the business, then my group program, Sold Out Sales Academy, is the best option. That's a 3-month group accelerator, just to help you for like building your online brand, building your offers, getting you more in the habit of creating content that sells, selling on stories, building those habits and the consistency that gives you the momentum then to be getting to those higher cash months. Because when you're in the low cash months, this is a skill that you just haven't refined enough yet. So purpose of SOSA, Sold Out Sales Academy, is to help you refine that skill so that you can be landing sales consistently and building that online brand that there you can scale from. Or if you're like, yeah, I want support, but I just want to know answers. I'm not ready for, to work with a coach right now, or I just want a low level support that I can just dip in and out of. Then there's the membership Sold Out Society, where there's lots of small bingeable lessons of like how to optimize your profile, how to get, hooks, content, sales, specifically what to do on a day-to-day to bring more money into the business. So that's my membership, where you can just go in, binge stuff, hop in, come to the trainings, come to our call, but it's not a lot of time. It's very bingeable.
Amazing. I am so grateful for our conversation today, Sarah. Is there any last message you want to leave our listeners with?
Oh, well, I think just go to like really get behind what does iconic mean for you in your business, in who you're being. What does your most iconic self look like? And get a clear vision of her, both in what she's wearing, how she shows up for herself, what is she styled like, where is she living, what does her house look like, what does her life look like, and just go take steps. And no one's asking you to transform your life by tomorrow, but you first need to get clear on what that vision of your most iconic self looks like, so that then you can try and take steps towards that. And every time you take a step will be a massive confidence boost for you, because you know you're one step closer.
Yes, I love that. Stay on Zoom while I end this recording. This has been such a joy. I have loved having you. Go follow Sarah. We'll put it in the show notes, but it's at Sarah Buckland Coaching.
Yeah, right? Insta, LinkedIn, TikTok.
And you have a free Facebook group.
Yeah, Sold Out Sister Community. So if you go on the Facebook-group Sold Out Sister, you'll find it there.
We'll drop it in the show notes as well. Amazing. It's been
Thank
amazing.
So
Thank you so much. And everyone who's listening, we'll speak to you soon.